This is frustrating! I don't even know what he was printing! Welcome to Print Fail Friday. Failure is always an option here, and we want to help you fail less. The biggest fail of the week is not a 3D printing failure. Well, it's 3D printing adjacent. It's me. I failed this week. We released a video Wednesday talking all about SolidWorks being free for makers. I'll card to it because that's what YouTubers are supposed to do. And we filmed it around 3 o'clock in the afternoon the day before it was going to go live. Yes, we edit and release videos that quickly. The problem is, between the time that we filmed it and the time that it went live, it was no longer true. So, yeah, the first big f*** up of the week, me. I f***ed up. And even further, it gets worse, because after every Wednesday video, we always do a live stream where we do something, whatever it might be. And this week was supposed to be learning FreeCAD, which, by the way, bro, it was so tough for me. Even tougher was the fact that my computer hard crashed during the live stream about 45 minutes in. I have unlisted that video. It is a complete and utter embarrassment to me. Failure is always an option. And, well, that's mine. Let's get into some of yours. To get to some failures, we have to go to my buddy, Joe Kaufeld, the filament librarian. If you are looking to understand what a color filament is before you buy it, you can go check out his website. Links will be in the description. But Joe has what I would consider a special relationship with 3D printers, because I look at some of the photos that he sent us and there's just one of them. It doesn't get any better from there. And I think Joe might need a bit of a break. I look at this and said, Joe, who hurt you? Because honestly, this is painful. Let's dissect this one. So we're looking at either a palette or a multi-material print. This could be an MMU, a palette, I don't know. It wasn't ever specified. That things went horribly wrong for. We've got our main part, but we've also got our purge block here. And that's how we know it's a multicolored print, because it's got a purge block involved. We got the hot end up in that corner, but we've got the sock and the fan shroud for it down here. The second photo seems to explain a little bit more as to the damage that occurred. It appears that your fan shroud came loose and the hot end ran into it, causing it to melt. When it did that, it fell, caught on the print, as far as I can tell, and started skipping steps to where you kind of got a real rat's nest of a disaster. This is not even mom's spaghetti. At this point, this is almost domestic violence. I mean, honestly, this is shit. And I feel so bad for Joe, because Joe, I asked a friend group of mine to submit failures, and no less than half of them this week are all Joe. But I do like that we were provided with this little bit of extra context, because without this, I don't think that first photo accurately describes what occurred here. And you might think that, oh, maybe the part got free. And it looks like maybe the part did come free a little bit, but most of the damage appears to be done from the fan shroud falling and getting in the way. Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe, but you've got a relationship with printers that is a little bit unique. On to the next one. Joe has buckets of failed prints. A lot of us do. And what he's doing, and what some of us do that keep our failures, that we separate them into PLA, PETG, ABS, and generally other plastics. And that way we can take them to get recycled. Now, unfortunately, local to me, there is no way to recycle them. If you have failed prints, make sure you clean them, you wash them, you get any other glue, whatever material off of it, and make sure they're fully dry before you package them and bring them to your recycling center of choice. Just make sure they accept it ahead of time. If they don't know what 3D prints are, chances are they're not going to accept it. So talk with them first. I have to drive about 50 miles to go find a place that will take it, but you know, one drive every now and then is not too bad. But these are a lot of failures, and I think a lot of it comes down to Joe utilizing Folger Tech machines. Let's be real here. at a certain point, if you're doing this for a business, machines that you have to assemble yourselves out of kits that, I mean, they don't look that bad. The metal parts are nice. Folgertech is not entirely known for their high quality printers. I would love to check one out myself. I used to have an FT4, and I used to have an FT4. I did not like it. Maybe the FT5 is better, but I did not like it. Once again, Joe, Filament Librarian, coming in clutch with another failure. This one is really easy, but this one kind of sucks, and it's a bummer every time this happens. The Benchy delaminated from the bed, and you can tell right here, because what happened is, when it delaminates from the bed, a lot of times the nozzle will grab onto it, and that's what occurred here. So you can see lots of layers, and then it gets kicked out, and then has to run around. That is from a part delaminating from a bed. Now, easy way to fix that, a little bit closer on your Z offset. Make sure that your PEI sheet is a smooth PEI sheet from Prusa 3D. Make sure your PEI sheet is clean. Wipe it down with alcohol. If it is a smooth sheet, if it is a textured sheet, just wash it with dish soap, Dawn preferably. We're not gonna endorse Dawn, but it does work the best for that kind of thing. We use alcohol, and then we use Windex, and it seems to work very, very well. So, easy solution there. Nice, quick, and easy fail. Another one, because Joe has a love-hate relationship with 3D printers. I had this talk with him and saying, Joe, if you ever need to talk and you think that you have a abusive relationship with 3D printers, let me know. I'm gonna wait a few seconds. I wanna know in the comments what you guys think went wrong here, because I saw this and I got it almost instantly. Now, I was technically wrong, but also technically correct. What happened here? I want to know down in those comments. While you're down there, leave a like. Just smash that like button like Joe should be smashing his 3D printers, because boy. And while you're doing that, I'm going to smash this segue to our sponsor, 3D Musketeers. I feel like it should be sponsored by the Filament Librarian, but I've linked to him down in the description. If you are looking to get your ideas out of your head and into your hands with full art part, rapid prototyping, and product development, you can reach out to us at 3D Musketeers, where we have printers and we deal with failures, but you don't have to hear about them. It's pretty great. And if you have all of these types of frustrations with your machines, it might be time to call us. Honestly, if you're getting frustrated with your printer, give us a call, shoot us an email. We are here to help you make awesome. And if you want to support our efforts here on YouTube, on Twitch, and for all the awesome things we're going to be doing, head over to our Patreon where you can support us directly, patreon.com/3dmusketeers. And remember, patrons get extended cuts and uncensored edits of our videos. So if you like the content that we produce and you want more of it, support us at Patreon. Tiers start as low as $1. Come on, kick a buck, so I can get a new computer, because that failure is absolutely a PC problem. All right. Did you get it? Let's find out. When I saw this, I immediately said, you put 175mm filament in a printer with a 3mm hot end. The bore size, and that is the size that the filament goes into the hot end, is different for 1.75 and 3mm filament, because the sizes are different. Technically, that is not what happened. Joe was using a printer with a non-all-metal hot end, so PTFE tube went all the way in. However, that PTFE tube was not all the way seated, and the Bowden connector, which is a push-to-connect fitting, was not locking correctly. So when he was feeding filament, it was pushing the PTFE out and causing this little pig's tail. There is no good way to solve this problem other than to replace your Bowden connector and likely also replace your PTFE liner / Bowden tube. This is a bummer, because you will fight problems like this for a long time if you don't know what's going on. But there is no easy way to even clear this. You have to pull the whole thing out of the hot end and then pull some filament out and cut it. This piece of filament's probably not much longer than 5 or 6 inches, because he had to cut it to get this failure. I've dealt with this when we tried to run our Lulzbot Taz 6 on 1.75mm filament without doing a 1.75mm filament conversion. We had to deal with this. When you would retract it and push it back in, it would get soft, it would bunch up like that. That sucks. Did you get it right? I'd love to know, because that one's a tough one. If you've never dealt with that problem, That one's a tough one. The next one we have here comes from Twitter, from Ed Ivory. Ed says, failure is a consistent teacher and patiently reminded me this evening to slow down. We can see here that Ed is attempting to print in open air. There is nothing under it holding it, and the perimeters are not touching themselves. That's a tough one, buddy. That's a tough one. The way to solve that would have been probably some support material to deal with that, or as you move up to needing those two perimeters, have less of an angle so that this doesn't occur. But what happened is some of it didn't stick, it started to droop, cooling was not where it needed to be. Lots of problems resulted in this failure. Also, Ed, you're a savage. Peel this off, please. Please. Ed, if we ever meet, I'm going to peel this if it's not peeled. I'm coming for you. Another one from Mr. Ed Ivory. We've got a friendly reminder to turn on supports. Yep. So there's Ed's first problem there. He forgot to turn on supports, and it didn't do great. The second one actually looks like it did okay, but maybe there were supports there and he removed them. Yeah, I would look at this and say, I don't know what the rest of the geometry looks like, but if you printed it with this side and this piece here facing down, it would have easily been able to bridge across this without too many issues. This brings up the point of understanding where critical dimensions and critical surfaces are. If you don't know where they are, how can you easily know what surface matters the most? I hate to say it, but Brad works for us, and Brad is proud. This is Brad's failure tree, the Printzilla melted blob of most of his recent fails. Failed print on his Mark 3S and a couple of tool changer fails. I have seen this piece in person. It makes me uncomfortable. This makes me uncomfortable. Most of us throw away our print failures. Brad says, nope, grab the blowtorch and let's make it happen. This is a monstrosity, and it has gotten much larger since this was posted back in November of 2020. Let's take a look here. Brad had bed adhesion issues, clearly, where the part came up and then got knocked off, and unfortunately ended up with a bit of a blob of doom. Unfortunately, his silicone sock did not save him. Potentially, the sock was loose and got caught, and that's what caused everything to come up. But because it does not appear to me that there was ever a clean layer of support on this side, I believe this was more of a bed adhesion issue. Brad has not had the greatest luck with the E3D tool changer, and for those that don't know about the tool changer, it is not a 3D printer. It is a motion platform that you can add 3D printer heads onto. But when it does work, it is a venerable machine of awesomeness. And speaking of E3D, coming soon, we have a video all about their recent announcement regarding patents and open source. I think you're gonna like that one. It's a difficult one nonetheless. But this sucks. Brad looks like he was trying to do the test fox that a lot of people like to do. And yeah, his knees are weak, his arms are heavy. He's got a nice old tool changer full of mom's spaghetti. This is a rough one because not only is there a lot of filament wasted, this is really good filament. This is all Jesse PLA, and if I'm correct, that is Brad's own color. Yes, he has his own color with printed solid Jesse PLA. It's called Brad's Orange, and $1 from every spool gets donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. If you want to hear more about Brad and his story, we'll card to the video that we did with him talking about his story. But yeah, I know Brad's had a bit of a rough time with the tool changer. There's another one. I think I was there for this one. Brad and I have been working on this tool changer to get it right for quite some time. And this is a bit of a bummer, right? No one wants to go through these failures, but it happens. Here's an interesting one. One of these things is not where they should be. The tool changer failed to park, and on top of that, it appears the Bowden connector has completely come off. And as the spool was moving, the heater from the tool changer hot end, which I believe is a Hemera for him, was melting through the spool. Also, Brad, please clean up your printer. There's no easy way to fix this other than making sure that your docking and homing positions for a tool changer are actually really well done. I know that Brad has gotten it to be much better since this failure. And we can actually see on his Twitter, because if you want to go follow him, you can. Oh, okay. It even tells you that he's 16. I didn't want to tell his age. Brad is 16. Let's take a look here. Brad's done pretty well. These are all the new Jesse PETGs in Hope, his dog, which we helped out to make it happen. It's pretty cool. See, there you go. There's Brad on his throne. I have seen this throne. It is massive. This is something like 100 kilos of filament. It's pretty great. I know that this one did give Brad some trouble, but he does end up getting some good prints every now and then on his tool changer. I believe he is the youngest tool changer user, so go give him the credit that he deserves. Next up, we have Mardini. Mardini is someone that is just learning 3D printing, and he's had some trouble. This one looks fine to me. I mean, it's got a little bit of stringing and blobbing here, so this would be kind of work on your retraction. All good there. Headless, it appears. I don't know if it stopped printing or the head was broken off, but yeah, might have been knocked over because I do see some spaghetti down here. Might have been knocked over. Really simple. For something like this, add a brim. And again, remember, brim is attached to your hat on your head. The skirt flows around you. Brim attaches to your part. I would have added a lot of brim for a part like this. It is very tall. It has a very small surface connecting it to the build plate. Something like this Fotis Mini that we did recently for his birthday, for Fotis Mint's birthday, part made by Wexter, we'll link to them in the description as well, has 2 small contact patches on the feet, and yes, his ass is hanging out. We did not do a brim on this, and about halfway through, I'm like, oh, I probably should have put a brim on this. Thankfully, it was fine. Next up from Mardini, we see he liked it, and he put a brim on it. And it worked. This appears to be fine, actually. I think this is an Ender 3 Max. The Z height kind of says you might be an Ender 3 Max. Also, Mike, make sure that those XT30 connectors and XT60 connectors are actually well done. There's a tendency that those weren't great, so be careful there. That's been a thing. I've been there. One of the, well, no, this broke when he was trying to remove it from the plate because the print came out all right. I'm guessing he went to just take the top of the part and, you know, kind of pry it off the plate. And unfortunately, one of the feet broke. That's the worst. I hate when that happens. Yeah, that one's tough too. It looks like Mike was trying to do a Mr. Grinch. It wasn't the Grinch who stole Christmas, it was his printer that stole the Grinch. It appears that it came delaminated once again and started to print spaghetti. The minion appears to be fine. I don't know if these were printed together, but we do definitely have a problem there. Again, work on first layers. Make sure you've got good first layer adhesion. It is easy to end up with poor adhesion. So always, always, always check, check, and check again. If you don't know for sure, print a tall spire, something with a very small surface area. Maybe try by printing a 40 by 40 by 150 millimeter rectangular prism, because it's not a square, it's not a cube, it's not a rectangle, it's a rectangular prism. I definitely didn't have to do that 3 or 4 times to get it right. And you can then check to see, one, how as your bed slinger or Cartesian printer moves back and forth will affect something at height, but also if your printer has good bed adhesion. If it doesn't, work on that first. There's another photo of Mr. Grinch. I'm fairly certain that's a Grinch. Minion came out fine, although he might have a bit of a retraction problem right there on the fingers. And that makes sense. These are very small amounts of printing, and with Bowden style printers, they have to retract a lot. And what happens is, if you're retracting over that same piece of filament over and over again, and yes, you're extruding some, but you're not generally extruding more than what the retraction amount for your printer is. It can cause the filament to start getting ground up by the extruder. If you don't believe me, try to print something that is very, very thin, that you have a lot of them on the build plate. Likely, you're gonna start burning through your filament. This is more common on Bowden style 3D printers, especially ones without dual gears for their extruders. If they have the Mark 8 style extruder, which we went over when we did our Ender 3 review right here, they can grind filament because it doesn't really have a good path for the filament to go through. I believe that's what was occurring here, but it did seem that all's well that ends well. Next up, we have a part from my buddy Amos. And Amos, yep, I mean, most likely the part delaminated from the bed, it got knocked off somehow. Mom Spaghetti, we have been over this so many times. These are common problems, and I feel for people that go through this, because it's not easy to wake up to that. We actually just did some parts for a client where the last 5 or 6 layers, it knocked one of the parts off the build plate 3 or 4 different times. And it was because I had too much gap between my brim and my part, because Precisizer 2.4 automatically gives you a 0.1 millimeter gap between your brim and your part. Change that to 0. Why is that 0.1? That's so bad. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed raging with me on this video. Wish Joe well down in those comments. Go check out everybody that we've listed here today, because you know what? They all make awesome, and you should go follow them. Make sure to follow us as well. Don't forget to get subscribed, because it helps our channel grow. And let us know if you like this series. I really like going through your fails. Make sure you tag us on Twitter, on Instagram. You can use hashtag PrintFail. And I'll be going through Reddit as well personally, so that you guys can show off your failures to us and try to stump us. Because I'd like to see if you can. I've been doing this a while, but I'm not perfect. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. Have better prints. And if you have failures, we can help you. And keep making awesome. Episode 2 of PrintFailFriday complete. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you want your name in the credits, make sure to support us directly on Patreon, patreon.com/3D Musketeers. Links will be in the description. And thanks to all of our patrons that do support us, because without you, this kind of thing would not be possible. Right below me is the first episode of Print Fail Friday, and next to it will be a video made especially for you. I'll see you all down in those comments. I want to hear what you think about Joe. Should Joe still be 3D printing? He's great at colors, but man, that's a tough one. Have a good one, guys.